Hi, this is Zoe, and this week's podcast is a special recording of Peter Munday at the Menslink midweeker. Peter Munday is a local Canberran businessman who is a principal dealer at Lennock Volkswagen and is a long-time big supporter of Menslink, one of the charities I support also, which supports young men in Canberra through difficult times. Now, I'm showcasing Peter's story because he, in my opinion, is an incredible leader. And what you'll discover in his story is a man with deep compassion and deep conviction in supporting and helping others, even with his own individual challenges. And I think his story of self-discovery and of contribution is a wonderful model for all leaders in any industry. Let's do this.
Welcome to the Zoe Routh Leadership Podcast, your source of strategies and insights to make you a better leader. Influence, improve, inspire.
Thank you for coming to this, our next midweeker. I read recently that Griffins is 5 years old in February. The midweekers are 3 years old. And next week, Menslink turns 15. So some significant milestones. No, let's not do that. About 3 years ago, one of our Menslink mums, she had a young man in our mentoring program, came up to me and she said, "Marty, I need to pay it forward. I need to introduce you to this guy called Peter." And I'd never heard of him before. And she said, "You really got to meet him." And I went into his office at Lennock Volkswagen. And over the next hour, I think we'd had 15 minutes scheduled, but over the next hour, he proceeded to tell me everything that was important about Menslink, mentoring, and what we needed to do with young men. And I walked out of the meeting going, wow, I've just met someone. I was a bit nervous about my job actually, Pete, but thank God you earn a good hefty amount more than I do. But I've met somebody who really gets what we do at Menslink. And then I started to find out more about what he does, because he doesn't just support Menslink. He's actually, over the past few years, he's raised nearly $3 million for charity. And I think now, I've struggled for about a year or two to get Pete up here today. He's not a happy camper talking about himself like most of the really good people we have talking. But he's made an exception for us to talk tonight about himself and his journey. So he's just going to spend, I think, Peter, you were going to talk for, 1.5 hours, something like that. Just about some of his journey. And then I've got a bit of a surprise at the end that we'll talk about. So, Pete, if you want to come and sit down, Peter Munday's story.
Thanks, Marty. That was a great introduction. I want to tell you probably a little bit about my life and my story. It at times does get emotional for me because it has been quite a journey. And when you see the results of some of these journeys or these things that I've done, it's very rewarding to me. But to give you a bit of background on me, I was a kid that hated school. I struggled to probably learn. I was in a public school, and like I think a lot of the young boys that come to Menslink, I was a young boy that was bullied and picked on. And I think in my defence, I probably started to hang around not the best group of young men. And unfortunately today, and thank God today, a lot of those boys that I did hang around are either in jail or dead. My mum at 14 took me out and put me into Maris College to try and help me with a new group of friends. I rebelled terribly about going into that school, and consequently I got expelled at 14 and 9 months. as much as my mum tried to have me tutored and give me a good education, I really wasn't into schooling. So I went into the workforce at 14 and 9 months, and I worked in a couple of various different jobs until I probably found something that I really enjoyed. And funnily enough, it was in this restaurant, but it was a Chinese restaurant when I was 17. It was called the New Star Restaurant. And I worked long hours because I think for me to earn the money that I needed to earn, I knew that it had to do with hard work. I didn't have the education, and as it turned out, I was later in life diagnosed with dyslexia, so I had terrible trouble reading and writing and putting my words together, which was probably why I struggled so young. I then came and worked here, and I used to work day and night shifts, and then I used to work at a takeaway food van in Sydney called Gillies Roadside Diners, and those that are my age might remember the American takeaway food vans. When I was 19, I was able to buy a franchise of one of those, and within 4 weeks of buying that franchise, I got very bad legal advice, and I was told to hand it back and sue them. So I had nearly a $70,000 debt, no income, at 19 years of age. Thank God, my mother came to the rescue and lent me $12,000, and I bought another caravan and started up a caravan out in Belconnen. It was called PJ's Late Night Diner, and I served a lot of the old drunks of a night and the young drunks and the party boys and all that sort of stuff until the early hours of the morning. I paid back all that debt in probably about 2.5 years of working 18-hour days. I then felt it was time that I really wanted to follow what I really wanted to do, and that was cars. I loved cars. But one of my big struggles when I got into the industry was the badgering that salesmen had, used car salesmen. There have been dudders, crooks, thieves, and I never wanted to be that person. I then had a great thing happened to me. I went to work for Mike Cornock at Lennock Motors, which is now 34 years or 33 years ago. And what changed my life was one day I went to an auction with Mike in Sydney. And there was about 200 odd people, 300 people at this auction. I walked in, and the auctioneer had stopped the auction and said, I'd just like to welcome Mike Cornock. Now, this is a gentleman of the industry. And from that day, that's what I wanted to mentor myself on. Mike became my mentor, and currently is 34 years later. And I love the man dearly. Through that journey, I think, and because of the power that I got from Mike, I also myself have mentored quite a number of young men and a few young girls, over 30 in fact, and it is a great pleasure when you see the results that you get. It's probably the one thing that's probably helped me through the 34 years, being able to give myself back to somebody else and to probably share some of the values that I earned as a young boy that was sort of an uneducated guy that was struggling. I then got involved, and sorry, I always wanted to have that respect that Mike had in the industry. He was such a highly respected man, and I strive to have that respect. Recently, I got asked to speak at Volkswagen headquarters to all their staff, 200 people, which to me was a great honour. I walked out of there and broke down in tears because I felt that I'd actually finally achieved my goal. To feel that I'd actually got there. I've sat on the dealer council for Volkswagen for 4 years, which was representing all the other dealers, 100 odd dealers, and I also sit on their product and marketing board, which is a great thing. And the dyslexia still affects me, but it gets me through. I still get through it. I got involved with Starlight Children's Foundation with Volkswagen. It was on the dealer council. We wanted to surround ourselves around a charity, And there was 4 charities that we chose. Starlight was one of them. And we got in and we got involved and we had a national sponsorship with them. I wanted to take it at another level from my dealership and get more heavily involved. And I got involved with Canberra Starboard, which was a local charity here with that was headed by Mark Job and a great team of girls and a couple of guys in there. And we'd raised a lot of money with that. But one of the big things that I saw with Starlight was a real need in our community for adolescents. And every time I went to the hospital, I would see kids that were either with older people or they looked so lost in their environment. So I worked with the Director General then, Dr. Peggy Brown and Katie Gallagher, to do something really for adolescents. I really wanted to do something for that age group, that 12 to 18-year-old age group. And we created a ward in the Canberra Hospital, which is actually called the Lennock Volkswagen ward, which is a 20-bed ward for adolescents. And we've got an adolescent hangout zone where I've funded all the machinery. I've just put a movie theatre in there for the kids to just take them off that sheer pain that they go through being in hospital. It's got an outside area with outside table tennis and all sorts of things. It's really great. In that area there is also 2 rooms for adolescent mental health, so that some kids aren't in that area. It's quite amazing when you raise money for charity, and you'd like to see it make a difference. And there was one bit of charity, and I'd like to tell you this story because it really touched me. We wanted to put some artwork in the front of the ward, and it was not cheap. It was going to cost $10,000. And I struggled to think that $10,000 for a bit of artwork, when a lot of times sick and dying children, $5,000 will give them a getaway. So we fitted this artwork to the ward, and the day that we were there and I was getting a photo with the artist, a young girl came out who had 2 little tubes in her nose. She was 12 years of age, and she'd been in there for a couple of weeks. She was skinny, she was probably 35, 40 kilos, and she'd actually gone off for treatment. She came back, walked out the door and saw this artwork. And the joy that artwork put on that little girl's face was just unbelievable. She met the artist, she talked to him, and they'd said to me at the hospital that it was the first time that they'd actually seen her smile in 2 weeks. So it was quite incredible that artwork had done what it had done for those young girls, that young girl. That girl in particular had been physically and sexually abused terribly for 3 years prior to that. So to see that one bit of joy was worth every bit of it. I then, through the work that I did with Starlight, I met an amazing, incredible woman by the name of Moira Lai. And Moira Lai was a woman that ran the foundation for Canberra Hospital. And when I met Moira, she obviously had cancer. She had a scarf around her head. And she was, when I got talking to her, she contacted me to do some fundraising for the Canberra Hospital. And with that, I found out that Moira had cancer. She had breast cancer. She had 5 young children. 2 of those young children were 5-year-old twins, and one had Down syndrome. And she was working in the community doing some amazing stuff. Through some help of Volkswagen, we were able to help with a van because the secondary cancer got into her spine. She couldn't even open the door for her kids. Long story short, we had an amazing association. She gave me so much strength. I actually bought her a beautiful chair that she sat on with her 2 kids in each arm, so that she could easily hold them. With those chairs, I had no idea the comfort that it gave her, that we ended up actually circulating and buying 48 for the new cancer centre for people that were waiting for chemotherapy, which was really quite incredible. But through all this, I suppose, I came across Marty, of course, and I'm very passionate about young people, and this was a great gig for me as well, and I just couldn't wait to get on board with Marty and do the things that we've done together with Marty. We had the big night out where we raised $120,000, and from that there was a ripple effect that brought in a lot more money, which was fantastic. There was an amazing story that I'm very, very touched with from Southern Plumbing Plus, that they had a customer night and gave away a $10,000 voucher, and the young boy that won it actually donated back to Menslink. It was actually an incredible story. But yeah, look, I get a lot of joy out of raising the money and doing stuff. I'm currently just giving $100,000 to a place in Belconnen called The Cottage, and it's a place where young children go that have attempted suicide between the ages of 12 and 18, and they help rehabilitate these kids back into the community. I've got to say that it is the most disgusting facility I've ever been in, that these kids are at their lowest point of their lives. I'm actually, as a fundraiser, appalled that our kids are there, that are so low. I recently, and please, I'm going to name names because people in business really deserve it. Watson Blinds went round to quote on putting new blinds in that place, and one of the young girls said, "Why are they doing this? We're not worthy of nice blinds." They were so shocked. So Watson Blinds ended up donating $7,000 worth of blinds. But, with this cottage, we're going to do a whole new courtyard for them. It's going to have water features, gardens, roofing. It's going to have an outside garden area. I've spoken to a kitchen company today. We're going to put a whole new kitchen in where the kids can actually help cook and rehabilitate themselves in that sort of environment. But it's a really pleasing thing for me to do, to give back. I mean, I don't do what I do to sell motor cars. The philosophy that we take, or that Peter and George, business partners at Lennock now, let me do is I'd rather spend $250,000 on advertising. I'd rather give away $250,000 by giving away cars and supporting our local community. I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned is to give back. I have a statement that I say that success is when you're able to give back. That's success. I've employed some pretty incredible young guys over the years and over the journeys. Those that went to the Menslink Big Night Out would remember a story about a young guy that I employed who's currently with me, who probably was at the lowest point of his life, and he's now my right-hand man. He is probably. And I've employed many amazing young men. This guy, and he's here, Rick, is something incredible. And it's a pretty amazing story, Rick. I love you dearly, and you've done a great job, mate. We all should be proud of you. He's now a mentor for Menslink also, and he was really at the bottom of the end of his earth 3 years ago, so it's a really great turnaround. But the one other story that I'd like to say or tell you about, and it's have I got enough time or not? It's probably a very, very personal story, because it's a story about me. And, I talk about all the good I do, the young people that I've mentored, the young guys I've helped. I was saying to Marty the other day, one of the young boys I mentored is just taken up as a station officer in a police force. I've had guys that I've helped in their own business and have become very successful, and, it's very rewarding to see the results. But I think throughout my journey, as a... throughout this journey, I suffered myself from depression, and I get down very easy, and I myself has been one of those people that have attempted suicide to end it all, because I've struggled to understand my worth in life. But I want to tell you a story about another guy who was employed by me, who's currently still with me, and it's been now 14 years that I employed him, and he came and two of the managers in two other departments interviewed him, and they didn't give him a job. He came to me, and I really believe he had spiky hair. He was just not the fit for a salesman, but I gave this guy a go. 14 years later, he's still with me, and he's doing a great job. But I was probably, going back about 7 years ago, extremely low and very depressed. And, I think that, this, I don't mean this to be deep and meaningful, but, you sometimes struggle with where you are in your life, and, I had great visions, a vision of ending my life. And Andrew this particular salesperson wanted me to, he was doing his first charity ride, which was a Hartley Challenge, up to the top of Kosciuszko. And he asked me if I would come as his car and follow him up the mountain because he wanted to make sure that he could train for this big ride he was doing, Canberra to the top of Kosciuszko. And the day that he wanted to do it, which was a Sunday, the Saturday night was the night that I really wanted to end it. And I didn't want to let him down. He asked me 2 days before, so I decided to do it, and I didn't want to go. And I remember loading the car up in the back of a station wagon. We headed up to Jindabyne, and we got there, he loaded up, got dressed in all his gear, and I started following him up the mountain. And if you ever watch a cyclist, the sheer determination on them is really quite amazing. And I was following behind him with the flashing lights on. There was no cars on the on the roads. And I thought, whatever I'm following him, he's just going to be able to give up and get in the car. But whatever I go forward, I will. Hopefully, he will. He will just keep wanting to grow to where I am. So I went 2 kilometres ahead of him, and he just kept on doing that. Anyway, the sheer fight of him fighting up that mountain. Until eventually he got to the top, and I was sitting at the top of the ridge, and I had the heater going, the heated seats in the car, ready to put him in and nurture him all the way back home. And he said, and we got to the top, and he said, mate, I haven't ridden this mountain not to enjoy the ride back down. He rode the mountain back down, and I followed him to the bottom, and we put the bike in the car and stuff, and we headed home. The one powerful thing that happened that day to me was he sat his arm on my knee for 2 hours. And the sheer comfort that gave me at the lowest point of my life was pretty amazing. So I often say it's not about what money you give, it's not about what advice you give. To me, sometimes it's just giving somebody a hand. And, the touch or a hug or a feel makes all the difference to people.
I told you there was somebody who just got what Menslink did. Pete, we sort of struggled a bit whether you'd actually come and talk for us.
Yeah.
So, being a risk manager, I took the precaution of getting a couple of people to write down some notes.
Oh, right.
And there's 2 people in the audience who just wrote a couple of things for me that I just thought I'd read out. And this goes to the heart of what people who get involved in the Menslink community can do. And I'll read the first one out. It's from an employee. And he said, Pete never said to me, I'll be your mentor, I'll help you fix your life and get your shit together. But he was that, and he did that. And I'm eternally grateful. I'd left Sydney to get away from a party lifestyle and a concerning addiction. Pete took me into his home, not knowing me from a bar of soap, and gave me guidance both personally and professionally, and he's done that for over 4 years. He's inspired me with his relentless passion for youth and making a difference in the community. Watching him put together the car raffles and the fundraising balls and the drive for the community made me want to give back something too. So I was aware of the Menslink mentoring program, and knowing the importance male role models have had on my life, I signed up. Now, hopefully I'll be able to give back to others some of what Pete has given to me. And I'll just read the second one from a young fella. And he writes, I've never met Peter, but he told my mum about Menslink one day. After 1.5 years of drug use and party lifestyle, I knew that I needed to change. Mum introduced me to the guys at Menslink, and I've never looked back since. With the support of the Menslink team, I've developed strategies and pathways to become a better man. I've still got a long way to go, but I've got faith in their guidance and know that they will help me become the man I want to be. So thank you, Peter. Without your introduction, I might still be in that dark and miserable world I was in last year. So, ladies and gentlemen, one more time, thank you to Pete.